Making It Personal with Bishop William Joensen on Iowa Catholic Radio and iowacatholicradio.com.
Welcome to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen. I'm Kelly Mescher-Collins at the Diocese of Des Moines. On today's show, we're visiting with Sister Mary of the Visitation, who made her final vows earlier this fall. Sister Visitation was raised in Norwalk, attended Christ the King Parish in school, and Dowling Catholic High School. Her name was Sarah White. But before we get to today's interview, let's find out what's on the Bishop's mind.
Really looking forward to engaging, Sister.
Yes.
I can tell already that we're going to have a lively exchange here.
It'll be good.
And she's reading the joy of the gospel here in our studios already. But, as we come on the heels of the fall meeting of the USCCB in Baltimore, and that just concluded yesterday. Nothing, fireworks. Last year, of course, the Mystery of the Eucharist document and all the supposed controversy swirling around that. Here, more mundane things like budget and things like that. But it was interesting how some of the bishops were proposing to start the causes for canonization. American bishops were looking to propose one. And I think kind of maybe a little bit of overlap with Sister's story. The Bishop David Kagan of the Diocese of Bismarck was holding up to us for the cause of beatification servant of God Michelle Dupont, a lay woman who was actually a focused missionary. And Sister's nodding, so she seems familiar with her as well and maybe interacted. So we could maybe hear a little bit more about that. But attended North Dakota State and grew in her faith, the Ministry of Focus, Fellowship of Catholic University Students at St. Paul's Newman Center. And so 6 years with Focus, University of Nebraska-Lincoln. Hey, Spirit Catholic Radio listeners, you may remember her, Michelle
Got a couple
Dupont.
nieces out there.
Yeah, and South Dakota State and University of Mary in Bismarck, among others. But kind of working then for the Diocese of Bismarck and her talents and her evangelical zeal, but unfortunately contracting cancer and had to bear that cross. So ultimately, she died on December 25th, 2015, at the age of 31. So a very young woman, but God's grace, as we know. We've been thinking about Carlo Acutis in the short lives that we have. People leave a seismic impact on all that we're about. So, and taking their place in the roster of saints today, we remember in the United States St. Rose Philippine Duchesne, a school teacher at St. Charles, Missouri, and religious, who wanted to be a visitation nun, but then found the community that would lead her to the States, and then go back to the foundations. Today could also be the memorial of basilicas of Saints Peter and Paul. And again, images of our group from southwest Iowa on the pilgrimage that we made with Monsignor Orr, that chance to go into the scavi, the excavations underneath St. Peter's. We're really going back to the very early roots of that Constantine Basilica of the 4th century. And we were fortunate, our guide, and I've had various guides over the years, some more academic, some seminarians, others as well. She was the wife and herself an archaeologist of one of the Swiss Guard. And so when she saw our group and Iowans, she really became passionate, and she led us around to where supposedly, both below the Leonine altar, I'm stumbling a little bit, the actual place where you can peer and see, where the trophy box where Peter's remains are. So there is Peter, our faith founded on things so very firm. Sister Mary of the Visitation, would love to have you this morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Bishop. Thank you so much.
And you pointed out to me that we may have had a visual contact at my ordination some 3+ years ago, and I'm sorry if that didn't register with me amidst the raft of things, but I'm so privileged, and I appreciate that you're prayerfully lending support at that moment, and we'd love to have you as well. You're a member of a community called the Servants of the Lord and the Virgin of Matara.
Yep.
And so there's a story there, but we're going to maybe trace that back to your beginnings in the south side of Des Moines, Christ the King Parish, and then Dowling Catholic High School, and the never a straight path, is it? A kind of a windy path, but good to have you this morning.
Right, thank you so much.
Are you back visiting family?
Yeah, I'm home for a little bit to spend time with my family.
Yeah, and is that a privilege you get every year, or is that something?
Usually it's every other year. Yeah, and for me, it's been 3 years, so this is a very special home visit. Yeah.
Oh my! All the more that you would give us some of your time too. We are truly blessed. So, and how much family do you have now in Des Moines?
My mom and my dad still live in Norwalk. My older sister Katie is a teacher at St. Teresa's, and my younger sister Becky is married and lives with her husband on the south side of Des Moines.
Wow, tremendous. Okay.
All right, we're going to take a quick break.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio provided by Knights of Columbus, Borman, and Pfeiffer agencies serving the Catholic families in Iowa. Knights of Columbus is a fraternal benefit society providing financial security to members and their families, specializing in life insurance, long-term care insurance, disability income insurance, retirement annuities, and you can reach Knights of Columbus field agent Dan Ginther at 563-689-6801. That's 563-689-6801. Thank you, and God bless.
St. Vincent de Paul helps so many people.
You're right, Zoe. St. Vincent de Paul Executive Director Steve Havman here. We are serving over 32,000 local residents with food, clothing, furniture, and financial assistance annually. We invite you to learn more about all of our life-changing programs that positively impact so many Iowans by simply Googling St. Vincent de Paul of Des Moines. Our mission is to help those in need become self-sufficient through education, community connectedness, and unconditional support. Help us, help others.
Even kids!
Welcome back to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen. On today's show, we're visiting with Sister Mary of the Visitation, who made her final vows earlier this fall. Sister Visitation was raised in Norwalk, attended Christ the King Parish and School, and Dowling Catholic High School. Her name was Sarah White.
Sister Visitation, I want to hear more about the charism of this community and why you discern this would be a good fit. But let's go back a little bit deeper, as you were kind of being raised on the South Side. Your dad had a military connection, is that right?
Yeah, my dad was part-time military, but he spent most of his time being a doctor with Mercy. He's a family practitioner.
Okay, all right. But you said he'd maybe been a flight surgeon at one point?
Yeah, he was a flight surgeon, and he was deployed at least 3 times overseas. And those years were a little rough to have him gone in the midst of fighting and danger out in the Middle East. But God was really good and brought him back safely every time. And so we're super thankful.
Okay, so your mom kind of anchored things and
yep.
herself a woman of faith?
Yeah, very practicing. And
her first name is, I'm sorry?
Julie White.
Julie, yeah, okay, give her a shout out. Yeah. So you knew that the prospect of death was not something remote. This kind of could be very disturbing for a young child. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And luckily with our upbringing at Christ the King, we were, I would say, pretty grounded in faith. Maybe we didn't know so much, especially about like having that personal relationship with Christ. But my mom and my dad really instilled in my sisters and I that it was very important and good to be Catholic. And so we were really involved in Christ the King parish life growing up. We were altar servers, Eucharistic ministers, lectors. I remember waking up super early on some Sunday mornings to help with Donut Sunday, and just trying to.
I'd be all over that. Yeah. Where are those missing donuts?
Yeah. And so we knew that like going to church was important and receiving the sacraments was important. But I would say there was a little bit of. We didn't really know so much about the personal, intimate relationship with Christ.
Interesting. So you were very active and doing things as part of the body of Christ, but the body of Christ was not, here's the burning presence of Jesus.
Exactly.
And it wasn't something intimate that was awaking your heart at that time.
Right. We thought that I thought that being a good Catholic meant being active in the church, like doing things. And it wasn't until much later that I realized being Catholic means having a personal relationship with Jesus and letting that affect everything else in your life.
Okay. Yeah. So things are going well on all fronts by all rights in Dowling Catholic High School and very involved in the arts, among other things, right? Yeah. At Dowling, I did pretty much everything. I was cross country, track, spring musical. I was on the dance team all 4 years. And aside from dance team at Dowling, I was also dancing at a studio and on their competitive dance team. So just dance, like all the time. In my senior year, I actually won state individuals for dance in my division. So dance was like a huge passion of mine. And even though I was involved in a lot of other things, that was my number one passion and really what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. After Dowling also. Was there joy in it? I mean, the athleticism, the exhilaration of, something beautiful and that you were beautiful in all this? Yeah, I think mainly just, the athleticism, like continuing to push yourself to achieve things that you didn't think you could achieve, but with time and practice
and strategy. Not only could you advance more like in your skills as a dancer, but also working with your team. And that aspect of bonding as a team was super important. And our coach did a really great job of helping us to be one on the dance floor and off of the dance floor. And so that was, I just loved, and I loved the competitiveness. Yeah. And then anything like that glittered, like sparkles, glitter, makeup, like all the girly things.
Women.
Yeah.
Females.
Yeah.
I'll just remain silent. Anything I say will not be, will come back and used against me. So.
Yeah.
But a kind of grueling discipline too, right? It takes a physical toll at times.
Oh, yeah. Lots of injuries. Yeah. Lots of sweat, lots of waking up early, many practices. So
your folks had to be all in on this too.
They were my mom and my dad really were our number one fans in everything that we did. And even now, like they continue to be our number one fans. So I grew up very privileged and blessed to have parents who supported us 100% in everything that we were involved in.
Okay. And a little bit of cross country on the side.
I really didn't care about cross country. I just did it because my older sister did it and my friends were in it. And I thought, this would be good cross training for a dance team. So, yeah.
Back to dance.
And the coach knew this. Right?
Well,
probably.
Yeah.
But from there, University of St. Thomas in St. Paul, Minnesota, obviously a place with, some of our seminarians up there at the John Vianney Seminary and others who were working for the diocese, like Adam Story and others who did that. But you continued with the arts, but really kind of a diverse background, and you were into everything.
Yeah. And the time at the University of St. Thomas really initially was just like dance motivated. Their dance team had won college nationals, I think the year or two before I graduated from Dowling. And so my idea was I have to be on that team. Like that's going to be my one happiness. If I can be on this team, I'll be totally happy and fulfilled.
So they didn't recruit you. You recruited them.
Right.
Yeah. They weren't throwing a big scholarship at you.
Right. Exactly. Because it's not one of those like paid for sports that you can get scholarships for. But then I realized when I wasn't finding that fulfillment on dance team, I tried to do whatever I could outside of dance team to be fulfilled. And so at one point, I remember like almost telling Jesus, I know that I can't have fun and have you at the same time. So I'm just going to push you over to the side. And when I need you, I'll call you. And
that's kind of your own personal logic there, right?
Yeah.
Fun or Jesus?
Yeah, exactly. And I knew that I was falling away from my faith. And so at one point early on, I thought, well, maybe at least if I study the Catholic faith, that will give me some way to hold on to it, because I knew that I was falling away. And so I decided to major in Catholic studies, but really I had no intention of doing anything with a Catholic studies degree after I graduated, because again, I was thinking like, maybe I can join a dance company or be a dance coach or a dance teacher. Like, again, like I was still really clinging to this identity of myself as a dancer. And like, that's what I needed to do. But unfortunately, like living that typical college lifestyle brought with it a lot of like shame and regret, because I knew I was living a life that I wasn't made for. And it was hard, like every day, waking up and knowing that I had, done certain things the night before. But really, like through the Catholic Studies department, the holy lay people that were in my class and the seminarians who were in my Catholic Studies classes really got me, and the material that we were learning really got me to think about how was I living my life? Because when it came time for exams, I could answer the questions on the exam. It's like, okay, I can answer these questions on a test, but how am I living what I'm saying? How am I living this material that I'm learning in class? And so in college, very little by little and very slowly, I think Jesus was pursuing me and kind of getting me to think about changing my life. But I just wasn't, like St. Augustine, I just wasn't ready to let go of those sins.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But God is relentless and God is patient. But, people's kind of embrace of Christ and the coming to the faith and really making it a personal faith, for some that's more intellectual. For others, it's an affair of the heart, and then it brings the other around. But it sounds to me like you kind of had a sense of, the rock slipping underneath you a little bit, the gravel, and you're like, and so at least there was something clean. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't, just learning all the moral teaching of the church. And were there any experiences of a retreat or personal prayer at that point, or was that later coming?
Really, that was a lot later. I would say one thing that made a pretty big impact on me was when I studied abroad in Poland for a month, taking a class on Pope John Paul II.
In Krakow?
Yeah.
Where was that?
Yeah, well, we spent most of our time in Lublin, and then we traveled around to all the places that were of significance to his life. And when I learned about his life and how, everybody thought that he was going to be like an actor or a teacher because he was so charismatic and so gifted in these things. And then later he was called to the seminary. He gave his yes to God. And then now we know, what one yes can do for the whole world. I thought, well, what if that's me? Like all this time I thought that I was being called to be a dancer. Like, that's what I thought I was supposed to do. But I felt this kind of restlessness in my heart thinking that maybe I should do something for the church. I don't know. And it wasn't until I met a Focus missionary, I learned about Focus, then I ended up applying to be a Focus missionary. And really through the application process and getting hired through Focus is when I had that huge life-changing experience where I knew I had to surrender my life to Jesus.
Interesting. And you're being very transparent with us. So thank you, Sister Visitation. I'm going to radiant witness you offer to us. But it sounds, if I'm reading it right, that, okay, I'm applying to Focus because there's something here. But my life, really, my house isn't in an order yet.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a work in progress here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And really, I would say the main drive to apply to be a Focus missionary was the desperation that I needed a job after college. I knew I could not graduate.
Oh, sorry, Curtis Martin. This isn't sorry truth. They're head of Focus.
Exactly. I didn't want to disappoint my parents because they had helped me pay for college. And I knew that I had to have something lined up for after I graduated. And so really out of desperation is why I applied to be a Focus missionary. But then God is so powerful and so good. He can use all things. By his grace, I was offered a position and hired to be a full-time campus missionary, even though I had not been living my life as a Focus missionary should. And actually at my interview weekend in North Dakota, I met Michelle Dupont, and she was one of the Focus missionaries who interviewed me.
Wow.
Yeah. Uh-huh. So she was part of that first group, that first exposure to Focus, and like young people my age who were on fire with Christ, living for virtue, striving for holiness, that really made a huge impact on me.
It's a small church, isn't it? And the communion of saints. So beautiful. But I mean, saying you have a job, Focus missionaries are not getting the big bucks, right? And you have to do your own kind of fundraising too in the midst of this. So, so dancing was totally off the table by then, or
dancing, I knew that I could probably keep doing it like for fun or offer it where in situations where it could be, a gift to people. But I knew with like 100% certainty that I had to either work for the church or become a Focus missionary. God allowed me to become a Focus missionary. And then in my time in Focus, I actually had more opportunities to dance. I used it as kind of like a ministry. When I was at the University of Florida, I had a Catholic hip hop dance group called the St. Genesius Crew. And so, we like danced to like Christian rap and Christian hip hop music. We looked at the lyrics to see how that kind of music differed from what we were hearing on the top 40 radio. And we prayed before and after every practice. We prayed before and after every performance and really tried to offer what we were doing for the glory of God.
Wow, that's evangelization.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Your artistic inspiration to join that. I mean, it's going to be beauty. It's going to captivate people and draw them in. University of Florida, there's a lot going on there, right?
Oh, yeah.
Some of it, maybe more pagan, and the worship of football, which prevails on some D1 campuses too. But, I want to be a good steward of our time here. So now this whole rumbling about religious life, was that much later or...
Yeah, that was a lot later. Even in the beginning of my time as a Focus missionary, I still wasn't really sure what God was calling me to. At some point in my time as a missionary, I was dating another Focus missionary, and we had talked about engagement. We talked about, maybe we need to start thinking about marriage prep. And then after a year of dating, he said we needed to break up because God was calling him to the seminary. And this young man was just ordained a priest 2 years ago, and now he's a priest for the Diocese of Lincoln, Nebraska. Wow. And so really after...
Were you at his ordination?
No, unfortunately I couldn't go, but my family was able to go to his first Mass. So that was...
We have listeners over there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was special. But really, after God closed that door to marriage with this man, I really prayed more earnestly.
Did you see it coming, though? I mean, could you kind of see it?
I could tell his heart was distracted. I could tell that there was something that was, taking a little bit more of his attention. And then... I mean, I had no idea it was the priesthood, but I could tell that there was something there that was like kind of dividing his heart. Yeah. And so,
Let me ask one more question to take a step back here.
Sure.
You're ministering to people. Did you feel as, students were struggling, maybe you could identify with some of them? Did you feel a certain hypocrisy or a certain authenticity that, that was immediate connection? You understood, as people are looking for love in all sorts of places.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think the devil definitely tempted me to think it was hypocrisy, but the voice of Christ made it clear that it was authenticity, because it was something that I had struggled with, I had gone through, that I had been forgiven for. And something that made me stronger to go out and to help build bridges with students who were struggling with the same thing. And so that was really helpful in my interactions with students, because I could tell them, I've been there, I know what it's like, and it's not worth it. Like, please trust me and don't, choose these things. So that was a big grace from God.
And some listen and some come back to you later and say, you were right, but I had to kind of go that way.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
In that way. So, wow. Young man is a priest, your formation program for him, that his heart, and now hopefully he can love people in a way that, he knows both that personal claim on a heart in a beautiful way. But Missouri, Florida, different places. And I think we're going to come up against a break here. So now we're going to have a kind of a teaser for people as we want to kind of hear how the religious life became the center of your heart.
We're going to take a quick break. When we return, we'll visit with Sister Mary of the Visitation. You're listening to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen on Iowa Catholic Radio and the Spirit Catholic Radio Network.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio is provided by the Sarah Vocations Ministry, including the St. Sarah Club of Des Moines and the Sarah Club of Council Bluffs. Sarah is an apostolate of the Worldwide Catholic Church dedicated to fostering and supporting priesthood and religious vocations. Sarahans strive to accomplish their mission through prayer, fellowship, and service to the bishop, priests, sisters, and all in religious formation, and in doing so to increase their own holiness. Learn more at joinsarah.org, joinserra.org. Thank you, Sarahans, for your support of Iowa Catholic Radio.
At Intervisions Healthcare, we see patients with unplanned pregnancies from ages 12 to 43. An unplanned pregnancy is traumatic at any age. For that reason, we specialize in educating, encouraging, and empowering vulnerable and at-risk mothers facing an unexpected pregnancy with the medical information and services necessary for them to make an informed decision. For more information on the free medical services at Intervisions Healthcare, or to support our mission or become a volunteer, visit ivhcare.org.
Welcome back to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen. We are back with Sister Mary of the Visitation, who grew up in Norwalk and attended Dowling Catholic High School. So
were you a little ticked at the Lord? You had to let this man go on and give him to God? Or?
Yeah, I was a little upset. It was not what I had planned for our life, but it was God's plan, which I knew in the end was greater than anything I could have ever thought of. And at that point, I really started praying more specifically to know my vocation, asking, Lord, what is it that you want from me? What are your plans for my life? Please make it clear to me what my vocation is. And then,
was that the first time really that question had been so explicit?
I think, yeah. In the beginning of Focus, I had prayed that, God, like, what's your will for my life? And then he brought, this young man into my life. Yeah. But then I had to pray it again a little bit more earnestly to know for sure what he was asking of me.
Yeah. Yeah. And so where did that unfold? How did that unfold?
Yeah, well, through some...
conscious of our time, so, this is dramatic, but yeah. I'd love to hear it.
Through some experiences that I had on mission trips to other countries, I started to become more open to that idea of religious life, because I was thinking a lot about saints, and particularly Mother Teresa of Calcutta, and the work that she did as a religious sister. And I realized, well, Jesus loves me so much and has done so much for me in my life. The least I could do is see, maybe, if possibly, he's calling me to religious life, because I had never been really open to that vocation. And
you really didn't know any religious.
In Focus, they do a really good job of bringing religious and priests to like all Focus events, Focus staff training, the conferences. And so I had been exposed to religious life, but there was this fear because I didn't really know what it was. And I was too scared to talk to sisters because they were like really holy, you know. But then I decided, okay, I need to go at least see. Like Jesus says, come and see. Okay, I just need to go and see. And so I started visiting religious orders. And just within the first couple of visits, I knew with 100% certainty that God was calling me to religious life. I was very attracted to the things that are essential in religious life, community life, service to God and to neighbor, and then the vows, poverty, chastity, and obedience. Praying in community, praying the liturgy of the hours were all things that I really loved and brought me true joy and true happiness. And I realized, oh, this is it. Like, yeah, God wants me to be a sister.
Wow, what profound graces. So Servants of the Lord and the Virgin of Montara, a Spanish order, I understand. Just tell me, what's their charism and how did they come into being?
Yeah, well, when I was asking other Focus missionaries, are there certain orders that I should go visit? They suggested the Servants of the Lord. And I said, well, can you tell me a little bit about them? Oh, yeah, well, their charism is to evangelize the culture. They're missionaries. They have a fourth vow of Marian consecration. They receive names of Mary when they receive their habits. It's like, okay, yeah, that's great. That's great. They're super joyful. Okay, yeah. And then the two things that really caught me was that they eat pizza every Friday night for dinner and they have siesta every day. But God uses everything. So that's how I ended up going to visit them. But yeah, it's an order that was founded in 1988 in Argentina by Father Carlos Buela. He founded the Institute of the Incarnate Word 4 years before the sisters. And so with the priests, we're part of the same religious family because we have the same founder and the same constitutions. And so with that charism of evangelizing the culture, we're in 40 countries around the world doing pretty much anything you can think of. We're teaching. We have sisters who are doctors and nurses. We have houses of mercy for handicapped people. We have schools. A lot of what we do is teaching catechism, hosting the spiritual exercises for lay people, having youth days, family days, camps for youth. So we really do pretty much everything.
What a great palette of possibilities. And time is running short here. And your ministry in Germany, of all places, sprichst du Deutsch now?
Yeah, ein bisschen, yeah.
So what's your ministry here? And then we're going to have to say goodbye.
Yeah, we're taking care of a Marian sanctuary on top of a mountain in Bavaria. And really what we're trying to do is preserve the historic, beautiful tradition that the people have had in this sanctuary for hundreds of years, and also bringing in the apostolates that are particular to our religious family. So continuing to host like the spiritual exercises, teaching people how to pray, and just trying to form fellowship with other Catholics in the area.
Oh, blessing so many people. So as you've blessed us by your time here, carving this out amidst your family visits, may you just savor each other's presence, and may that fill your heart and soul as you go back. Love to continue that relationship. And I'm going to be exploring to see if we can bring members of your community to the diocese, clergy and religious. Oh, boy, that would enrich us in so many ways. So blessings upon you, and thank you.
This has been another edition of Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen.
You can hear Making It Personal with Bishop William Joensen every week on Iowa Catholic Radio and iowacatholicradio.com.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio and Making It Personal is provided by Sarah Vocations Ministry. Learn more at joinserra.org.